has been made manifest unto me, for I have fell in sin, and it also has been made manifest unto me by the power of the Holy Ghost. Wherefore, I know if there should be no atonement made, all mankind must be lost.
Where do we read now?
Jacob.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's look at Alma. We'll compare the two scriptures. Let's look at Alma 30. We'll take
Alma 30.
Yes, 39 to 44.
Now Alma said unto me, will you deny again that there is a God, and also deny the Christ? For behold, I say unto you, I know there is a God, and also that Christ shall come.
And now, what evidence have you that there is no God, or that Christ cometh not? I say unto you that ye have none, save it be by your words only.
But behold, I have all things as a testimony that these things are true, and yet also have all things as a testimony unto you that they are true. And we yet deny them. Believest thou that these things are true?
Behold, I know that thou believest, for thou hast possessed with the lying spirit. And ye have put up the spirit of God, that ye may now not receive. But the devil had power over you, and he doth carry you about, working devices, that he may destroy the children of God.
And now, Holy Ghost said unto Alma, if thou wilt show me a sign, that I may believe that there is a God, yea, show unto me that without power, and then I will convince of the truth from thy words.
But Alma said unto him, Thou hast had signs enough. Will ye tempt your God? Will ye say, Show unto me a sign, when ye have the testimony of all these thy brethren, and also all the holy prophets? The scriptures are laid before thee, and all things they know there is a God, yea, even the earth, and all things that are upon the face of it, yea, and its motion, yea, and also all the planets which move in irregular form, no witness that there is a supreme creator.
Thank you. Thank you very much for reading the scriptures. How did Alma and Jacob fortify themselves? What helped them overcome these men, Oriana and Sherem? Yes, I promise.
Okay, so Sharon, I discovered then that first we received personal revelation. So we should seek for personal revelation to know things for ourselves. And then also, he knew the scriptures. Because then he asked Sharon that if he believes the scripture, and then Sharon said yes. He said no, that if he believes the scripture, that means he did not understand them. So he talked about the scripture, also Alma there, and then they also got their testimonies. Just like Alma, I told him that all things they know there is a God. So even as we face through those things, compare our testimony to them. If there's maybe they don't want to agree to what we are saying, just be our testimony. Possibly change their mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sir Promise, for sharing that point. Abraham, there is no hand.
He has a testimony that God brings.
Thank you. How can we use scriptures? Remember that, just like Sakomi said, that Jacob, knowing the scripture, was able to bear his testimony because he may have studied the scripture and knowing that there are truths that lies in the scriptures, and he used the scriptures to bear his testimony. How can the testimony of Christ, or how can having the testimony of Christ help fortify us against false teachings that we face today? In other words, how can the scriptures help us, or how can the scriptures fortify us, or help fortify us against the false teachings of today? Remember, we have identified some of the false teachings in the face today. How can the scriptures help us fortify us?
When we know the scriptures, that knowledge will come to know when someone wants to change it or say what the meaning doesn't produce. For example, just like Brother also said, that somebody can come teach you that you should give a beggar your tithes and not pay it unto the Lord. And you, maybe you would have read it, but you don't understand the meaning, or you not give more deep insight to it. Helping the beggar is also according to the Lord's commandments. But in this aspect, you have to know which one comes first. Is it God or a beggar? So if we know, then we'll be able to divide and also know it for ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marco. Yes, Sister Promise.
Okay, so we'll be able to confidently defend ourselves when we know the scripture. We can boldly tell of it because we've already studied it. We know that this is how they are in the scripture. So nobody can come and tell us otherwise. We try to paint it somehow because we already know them. So when we know these things, we will boldly say it out. We will not fear or doubt.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that thought. Yes, Rustin.
It's not all about knowing or understanding the scriptures. Not just know them. Don't just know them. But make sure you understand them. Study, wondering. Or Psalms knows me. It has to be real in the scriptures. Yes. So that means you are not understanding what you're reading. But if you understand, you know that you yourself are talking nonsense. So understanding the scriptures, not just when you know them, try to understand them. That's why the prophet, I think, every year they are giving us assignments of studying scriptures, repeating the same thing. Almost every day they are repeating them. So that we read them over and over again. So that maybe in the first one you are not understand. For second reading, you get no idea. Third reading, you continue getting no ideas. You just say, I've read this, to be in this place, I know it now. When we are in seminary and scripture master, prayer of the head. Let's always try to understand whatever we are reading.
Thank you very much, Rustin. Yes, friends, test that.
I know something that happened. That was what Austin just said about knowing the scriptures, not being enough. Like there was this man I used to like, to learn or more something.
Okay, more prayer. Yes,
initially when I got to I used to see some of these books, and I agree with most of them. They were aligned with the church beliefs, and I thought, oh, these guys. So eventually, until he posted one supporting alcohol, I began to dislike it. Over time, I saw one that he brought up all the scriptures that he used to support worshiping on Sunday, and he repeated all of them. He said he had gone to a place where the scriptures were written originally, and he had learned the language, studied them, and so he knew he could use English words better to relate the original text that was written. So he had understanding. And so in summary, he said that all those scriptures that are used to support worshiping on Sundays were not really used the way they are interpreting them. So that they actually do not remove the fact that Saturday worship is very. So now that's alone, looking at the effect of that, because almost 10 scriptures, they repeated all of them, even using context. And so looking at that now, it means that just like knowing the scripture, knowing that in Matthew chapter 5, they say don't do this, it's not really enough. If you now think of, okay, this is like an unclarity, something that has to be verified. We know now that there is need for a prophet of God, whose words will now become a witness, secondly to the scripture. So we know that we have a living prophet that has told us that this is what the scripture means when we say this, and not what Reno is telling us.
Thank you very much, Pastor, for sharing that out with us and yes, such good.
Yeah, to add to that, I think knowing the scripture is not just enough. we need to name the scriptures, name what we learn from the scriptures. So whenever we learn something about the scriptures, about Jesus Christ, and about what is happening, we learn it out of personal experience, not on broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you. That is true. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for sharing these thoughts with us. Wonder for a moment. Think about, there been a time when your testimony of Jesus Christ have helped you refute false teachings? Has there been a time when your own personal testimony of Jesus Christ helped you combat or counter false teachings?
Yes, like the first time we went to the temple as family to see, so the ordinances they were doing there was kind of confusing. So, but because of how I believe and this way I have, that this is the true church, but later I went on searching for my own answer and it became understanding.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Praise the Lord.
What happened when I first read the countering attacks of the events in the Book of Mormon online? So, but I know I read the Book of Mormon. I had no spiritual experience at the time. So I think that was the only anchor at that very instance.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay. Before I want to thank you for the first time, I've read so many teachings about Mormon doctrine, teachings against Mormon temple, the endowment, and whatever. So me going to the temple was like, let me see if this thing is true or false. That was my idea. If I'm going into this place, I'm going to open my eyes very well and watch and see what this endowment picture, whether this is what they are doing. But the thing that happened was, later I had a temple, the endowment session started. I slept till everything finished. I couldn't get it. The Lord was trying to teach himself. What did you believe? If you did not believe these things, why did you come here? That was what if you don't have belief, you don't have faith, why did you come here? Why did you shoot quit from Malaysia? The Lord works in experience. We don't look for science, but with our faith. Everything is going for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for sharing your
have something to share.
So, what are you waiting for? Samuel, go ahead.
I first stepped into the church when I was, I think, around 5 years ago. When I got to start understanding things in church, it was when I returned to the church again at around 9 or 10 years. That was when I got baptized for the first time. So when I was there, I know what I saw. I know how everywhere was. I know even how I was allowed into every room and class. It was all fun. I knew I understood the love that was spread among everybody. I understood how each person tells the pain of the other person. That's how we were going to primary then. So when I returned to my dad is Catholic, like there's a very strong thing. So I kept having this prompting to return to church, but then at the same time I became a very devoted Catholic. I started doing the whole Catholic stuff and getting to know most of the priests personally and the seminarians and all. So I felt like, okay, this is the place. My dad was always talking about how that place is the only place I should be and all. But then I just kept getting this prompting to come back to church, and deep down in my heart, I just knew that whatever we were taught here by growing up, it was real, and that there is nothing it wasn't even. I had the totally accept whatever my dad was saying. I was just doing it because I was under him then. But I always wanted to be here because I felt in my spirit that this was the true place to be.
Thank you very much. You find that a lot of time when we have a greater testimony of Jesus Christ, which we can build over time from studying the scriptures and following his examples, it will help us counter some false teachings. I've had instances where my personal testimony of Christ has helped me counter false teachings. And some of these examples were when I was in the mission, like one I've already shared, when someone after reading the book of Mormon just for 3 or 4 days would come back and refute, and that kept me worried. And if not for my personal testimony and further studying the scripture, maybe that's his own side of the teaching, or his own side after reading the book of Mormon would have either persuaded me to believe otherwise of what I may have believed all along. But then, because of that testimony of Christ, and because I have to further study the scripture, it helped me build stronger my testimony of Jesus Christ. And I've also had someone in the mission field who said, a member of the church, who said that he joined the church because of anti-Mormon literatures, and that helps strengthen his testimony of Jesus Christ. And you need to ask yourself, how can the testimony be built because of people who thought against Christ? Yeah, what's your question?
If we are talking about false teachings and all that, I know the idea was people outside who have been hearing this thing outside. What if, in the case, this false teachings is happening in our own church? Maybe a leader in the church came up to say, I know a leader will not say there is no Christ, but maybe a leader will say something, this thing is saying is not our church policy. It's not on the church. Maybe he's trying it. We have tried some and his members are not giving this. Okay, let's bring ideas from outside and feast on our own. Let's see if we'll be able to. What if the case happens like this? Are you going to oppose the leader? Church. So we do it now, they will say it's called of God. Are you going to oppose the leader or just do it because it's called?
Yes, thank you very much, Austin. Before we answer Austin's question, let's also get false teachings. Are they happening in the church today? Can we find, remember we discussed this earlier, can we find false teachings in the church today?
Yes.
So what are instances where we can find false teachings in the church? Yes, Austin.
And maybe the state president. Even if you don't respect your people, respect me.
I want to. This.
Thank you very much, bro. Let's make them before.
No, my own is not answered.
Okay, let's hear this answer, then you come up with yours. Yes, I mean.
My own is, I do not cast votes. You shouldn't cast votes. It is not. If you are casting votes, it means you are supporting a bad government.
Right, the church teaches obedience to the law of the land.
Yes.
Don't go to your faith, don't do politics. Don't teach.
Beautiful. Good teachings, yes.
You find false teaching in the church. Let's take, for instance, the principle of dating. Our parents in Africa says African culture. Why the prophet of the church has asked the youth of the church it in a normal way. But here in Africa, our parents will tell you it's African culture. And we don't uphold to African culture, you should leave it. American culture, you should leave it. So our parents in Africa, they are kicking against what the prophet has asked us to do.
Thank you. Beautiful. I think that's a very good scenario when it has to do with cultural teaching. I've had a encounter of even church leaders who have said that Anna, my daughter will not do this, even though the church teaches that. Or I've had a encounter of church who say that, come and marry my daughter now, and I'll tell you the amount of not that I don't care what the church said about this doctrine or these teachings, but this is how I want it to be, because that is how our tradition says it should be. Yes, Sister Meg. Want to say something? Okay, sorry. So,
Okay. First teaching is, in fact, Awka has been doing at this 21st century.
okay.
And I will give examples. Number one, I know, and second coming of Jesus Christ, I mean, it's an AC at every day. Everything I do inside here. But, you know, let me tell you, some of our church members, especially in my ward, they don't know that they are teaching false doctrine. And they feel like they're expanding gospel. Now, for instance, you can't just, okay, for instance, you'll be teaching, for instance, you want to teach service to your fellow mankind, and you'll be contradicting what you are teaching, because the principle of the church says, render service through the bishopric. But if you pass through that side, if you go to person, if you confront that person and help that person, you are seeing that person agency, in the sense that that person will not feel free again to express his or her opinion when you contribute something that is wrong, because he's indebted to you one. So first, the teaching is happening in Awka, like so much, and Ramala. Sometimes you don't even know that you are teaching for teaching. Now, one thing about the LDS, what makes us the
LDS?
What makes us the elite? The very elite. When we quote the scriptures, we give specific chapter and pages, not somewhere in the scripture. It's happening today in our midst. Nobody quotes scriptures again. Nobody quotes. And let me tell you, number one first sign of false teaching that person cannot do it is the scripture. And also,
this one, I don't know, but I want to make
you I will come to you. Let's make this.
You know that in the church, calling is done by a law of responsibility.
Yes.
The bishop in a ward bring a recommendation.
Yes.
Then state parents come. So what now we are seeing that state parents will come, call somebody, whether you like it or not. This person must be your right president. Whether you want or you don't want. When the bishop says no, now by fire by force, we will do it. So in that case, to see that this kind of thing is not what the church teaches. Sometimes so you call people without forming that and then like, you want to go there, whether you can do it or not, whether you are qualified or not qualified. Somebody who don't have time for it, go and be there. And people will tell you, say, I cannot do it. You say, just go there.
That is inspiration.
And people will tell you, they are the call of God, they are the church leader, there is a revelation. But you personally know that these things is not what the church is teaching.
Beautiful thoughts. I like the way also brought about that. And then let's look at then that asking question. We've identified that we can find false teachings even in the church. Now, how do we react when these false teachings are being taught by leaders of the church?
Can you imagine?
Let's
but it's not question, it's just something that I don't understand about the question that was asked. What the question he asked?
About the question he asked?
Yes, it's not something I don't understand.
I thought you have a question.
No, it's not like precisely the question.
Okay, go on.
What I don't understand, there is misunderstanding and misinterpretation. So, when we say false doctrine doesn't mean that he's saying the thing but he's misinterpreting it. Or the person he's saying it to is misunderstanding it. I don't know if you understand that.
Let's not go through that line because we will get more confused. Let's see that he has just asked a question, which is, we all said we can identify when a false teaching is being taught. When somebody teaches a false doctrine, a false teaching that are not of the Lord's standard, the person is a leader of the church, how do we confront that teaching?
Not all question is so important. But what I mean is misunderstanding. When somebody misunderstands something, you correct him, you accept. But this person is telling you, nah, lie. I know this is how you do.
Yes, that one you have.
I have received revelation from God. God is telling me that.
That's even why I asked.
You see, people are bringing their own revelation into the church. Their own claims of revelation into the church.
So you cannot believe that they are sure that
brothers and sisters, you you answer now. But then let's get it straight. Let's start with one second thought. The first is, how do I correct my leader? Before you even talking about correcting the person, how am I supposed to correct? Let's, for instance, my bishop, for instance, teaches a false doctrine. How do I correct my I'm just trying to rephrase all questions so that we'll begin to understand it step by step. How am I supposed to correct my leader, my elder forum president, my Sunday school president, my bishop, my state president? He teaches a false doctrine, and I've never identified maybe by inspiration or by the scripture that what he has taught is false. How do I correct? Yes, Professor.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 examples. Now, when I was serving in one village like that, they call a woman as a Sunday school president. Now, I felt, I don't know when that kind of revelation started, but I did not oppose like with the missionaries, it's a district. Okay, so we were confused, but they are sustaining the vote, we didn't raise our hand up. Not that but we didn't oppose, we didn't raise our hand up. So after the voting, we went to the bishop, the president, we are confused. I was a senior companion. When did this celebration happen? But I need to know when it happened. So after that, we call our mission president. Mission president called me immediately. And the next Sunday, the woman was released. And the second the bishop was teaching the conference. And he made a wrong statement about the doctrine of Christ. And Nash, when Nash was talking, giving his own talk, he corrected the bishop, but he did it in a way, everybody knows that the bishop made a mistake. But he teach the true doctrine. And like, the bishop, he might skip his mind, or he didn't keep it, he will talk to the bishop later. Now, so later I asked the mission president, why did Nash have to embarrass the bishop openly by admitting that there was an error and trying to teach the right principle? Now, he didn't answer me that question, rather he linked me to Nash to ask him that question. And I asked him the question, he says, if you correct the bishop inside the office, the bishop will take correction. But thousands of people that come their church that day cannot take that correction. Now, if a leader teaches a false doctrine, for instance, a doctrine that you know that this thing is documented in the scripture or in handbook, you correct that bishop immediately, but in a Christ-like manner. You understand that you will not feel offended, or you will not feel like you are challenging him. You be like a contribution and refer him to that scripture so that people will read it together and know there is a mistake somewhere. But if it's a teaching whereby this is not documented, but it sounds like a counsel or if like a personal revelation, because it's entitled to receive revelation from the word, that thing, you don't know why he said that. For instance, if a prophet receives revelation in the church, he discusses it with the apostle, and they maybe have discussed it with the counselors before he passes that information. Now you can approach him later and find out the reason why this kind of thing. Because definitely, if you oppose him there, you know you are rebellious. Because once you sustain a bishop, you sustain him. If you want to chastise a bishop, you chastise him in a Christ-like manner, but not to insult his office. So we should be able to differentiate that false doctrine when we are trying to give correction. Because you might give correction when he's using the handbook, or you're not even seeing it in the handbook. You look like a fool when the bishop is gone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that difficult also. Yes,
okay, so this when I came to Awka was one new that very first Sunday, the business was handled in the sacrament meeting. But I was asked to confirm someone as a member of the church. I will not mention the person's name, but it's an active member. So he did something I thought that Bishop would have corrected him immediately or later. But I found out that correction was not made. He made that mistake twice. That same Sunday. The sacrament meeting and so the student elders spoke twice. And this happened that he was asked to confirm someone. And after confirming the person, he said that he sealed it upon him. Now after the blessing, he sealed that blessing upon that person's head, which is wrong. We all know that any blessing that needs sealing, apart from anointing of the sick and the afflicted, there is no other blessing, apart from the ones done with them, there is no other ones that need that word sealing. And he did that when he was asked to ordain someone as well. He sealed the blessing upon the person's head as well. So I was expecting the bishop, who is the presiding authority that Sunday, to correct that mistake, but he didn't do that. So I found out that this brother has made this mistake twice. Two consecutive Sundays I worshiped in Awka. He made that mistake and nobody corrected him. So I was feeling that any other time he made a mistake, I'd rather go and correct him myself. Or when moved upon by the Spirit, immediately when he made a mistake, I'll correct him as well. So we act, when we are correcting, we act according to the Spirit. Be it immediately, after, politely, like what I'm also saying, we politely correct the person that this is how the Scripture says should be. Correct the person according to the Spirit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Green, for sharing that thought. Yes. Suppose prove your enough hand.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
So I just remember something. Mission, while they were giving or like laying hand to confirm convert, then the person was like, and that should be and that should be really good. And then we that had the thing, we like,
what is the back?
It's not a system. The bargaining was.
Look at all the men just.
Yeah, put it down.
and then we that had the some of the members, we just opened the eye and we're looking at everybody. And we don't know if Bishop had it last time or he did not hear, but he didn't say anything at that particular time. Till the thing was over, we had to go and meet the bishop and say, now dash this person because that way you to repeat it before they did that thing. So if we feel like, oh, because the bishop that we cannot speak to him or you see now, that was not confirmation. And then even not that hear it and then keep silent, it's honesty and then the thing will be on our head.
Thank you.
Maybe that was honestly.
I learned something from a very young boy. He saw his bishop, his vice president, drinking. And he will come to church and take church. To cool it off. So I can still come to the altar and say, those, you like doing tiny settlements, you bring their names and say, if you hear your name, stand up. So you call them and say, others that not we should clap for those that are paying. And others that not be, all of them will clap. The later you now say, what is too bad, but they're not doing that. So the little boy now walked up to him and said, Bishop, you that I used to see, I used to drink. And you come and chastise others and not pay their tithes. So when he said that, the bishop got angry. But he now said that we are not here to condemn or judge them, but we are here to help them. So the bishop now understood that this guy loved him, but he shouldn't do that thing that he did because everybody has flaws and weakness.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Sister, for sharing your thoughts. Okay, 20 seconds.
Sister,
I was actually looking for a particular verse in, I know it's Doctrine and Covenants section 88, somewhere 89, when Jesus was giving a counsel about this correction thing. It says when a wrong or an error was done openly, or when a brother was chastised openly, or was like anything someone did openly, give that correction openly. Or if you do it secretly, make sure that the correction was also given to he or she secretly. Now, if someone make an error, for instance, if Moses, I always like the way Moses handles talk sometimes. Or say normal, or if I'm wrong, correct me, because he might fall off, and God will use me to correct him in a way you not like. Okay, so. What I'm saying is that if you give correction, if something wrong happened, make sure you address it immediately. Because if you want to wait later, that might spoil a lot of things, or people will capture that principle as a true principle, and and spread it along. But before you know it, you'll start Bishop said, or this person said, or this person said.
Thank you. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. I know that learning and knowing how to address our leaders is one key principle that we need to develop. Knowing when and how to correct or help our leaders when they may have made mistakes, or how to maybe move an issue that we cannot treat that is wrong by our leaders to their own five leaders. It's one attribute that we can learn from the Master himself, which is Jesus Christ. But as we go, let's think of how can we better use our testimonies of Jesus Christ to counter false teachings as they arise in our midst, either on Sundays or in our worship or wherever we find ourselves. Think about how you can personally, the things you can do to use your testimony of Jesus Christ. Because as we do all of these things, let's think of what will Christ do in this situation. If you are faced with false teaching, somebody like the false teaching being taught, how will Christ counter this teaching? How will Christ help resolve that false teaching? As we have studied in the scriptures, instances of where false teachings were taught. There are also other instances, even in the scripture, even during the mortal ministry of Christ, where people may have taught false teaching. How did Christ counter these false teachings? And as we begin to think in our mindset, we begin to take that mindset of how Christ will counter this. We want to model our own lives to be in line with how Jesus Christ will react. I know that Christ is the center of our teachings. Please, whatever thoughts, whatever impression we have, as we think about going forward, how we can rely on the testimony of Jesus Christ as found in the scriptures to help us counter false teachings. Whatever impression we have, whatever feelings we have, please, let's write that in our study journal. I know that as we continue to refute these false teachers, as we continue to rely on our testimony of Jesus Christ, as we continue to rely as we continue to rely on the scriptures and revelations we receive, that we will find answers and we will find ways we can help combat false teachings. I know that Christ is the center of our teachings. I know that when we model our lives to be in line with the teachings of Jesus Christ, all of what that we must do is allow our lives to be in line with the teachings and the doctrine of Jesus Christ. I know that these things are true. I know that Institute is a place to learn doctrines and principles of Jesus Christ. And as we learn these principles and apply them in our daily life, as we study the scriptures daily, our lives will be blessed in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Please, as we go, please, Austin, as we take attendance, let us include our emails. I will send us a survey. Hopefully by tomorrow, I'll send us a survey we will complete. That survey is to help me improve my teaching. You know that there's no best teacher, and that the person will look to emulate Jesus Christ, who is the master teacher. We want to be like the Savior. We want to teach in the Savior's way. We want to constantly improve the way we teach, so that it will be as the Savior will teach us, and who is the master teacher. So in ways I can improve my teaching. Please, be as honest as you can. Don't say that I am your friend. We want to make that survey look good on me. That will not improve my teaching. That will not make me improve as a teacher. But as much as you are honest as you can in taking that survey, you want to make yes, from the impression you have today, and basically other of our teachings. It will help me improve my
we need refreshment in this
class. I love the Lord will bless us as we do our part. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
come to sleep
Can
with
I
your friend.
share my
Please, before you close the class, let's Meg share her experience with us and her testimony.
Just tell us how you're going to know that right now.
Oh, India. Okay, so this evening, actually this afternoon, I got back home from